and they have been very wonderful in taking their time to present before. So it's on video in the other meetings, and the video itself is on the website. So let's go into the official hearing so that we can take your questions and or comments.
And Maria, one more thing. When we're done with the questions and answers, if you could reiterate the timing and the reason why we have to do the tax levy increase, because that didn't get recorded. Just a brief thing I think would be good for the public to hear.
Okay. I'll go over the beginning again. Thank you. Okay, so we are opening a public hearing on, it's 4.1.1. A local law to override the tax levy limit established in General Municipal Law 3-C. And with that, I'm reading the official announcement, which is the legal notice proposed local law F of the year 2024. Public notice is hereby given that there has been presented to the town board of the town of Vestal, New York, proposed local law F of the year 2024, entitled A Local Law to Override the Tax Levy Limit Established in General Municipal Law 3-C. Therefore, pursuant to statute, the town board of the town of Vestal will hold a public hearing on the aforesaid local law at 6 p.m. on August 21st, 2024, at the Vestal Town Hall, 605 Vestal Parkway West, Vestal, New York. At that time, all interested parties will be heard. And that was published originally on August 15th, 2024. Let me just reiterate what was not caught on the video. And again, because of the tech issue, their presentation is in a previous meeting and the video is on the website if anybody wants to see it. But what I had said in the beginning is very simple. The town is transitioning, having two big changes going on. And one is the fire department is leaving the town and it's becoming independent. And that is in compliance with New York state law. We are the last fire department to become independent. So that is transitioning out of the town jurisdiction, as it were. And at the same time, we have had the issue of EMS needing our help. So a tax district for EMS is going to be established. We will be voting on it this evening. So I cannot say enough about how much they have struggled. Jerry Schultz and Mark Tomko are here this evening, once again, to answer questions and to make things clear for all of our residents. But in a nutshell, they have struggled very hard. And in their presentation, they just explained how hard they have struggled to try not to ask for anything from the residents. Most of the members of Vestal EMS are volunteers, although they do have some paid personnel, I believe all paramedics, correct? Because of their high level of training, it's the only way that they could do that. But they run at the minimal cost. They charge insurance what they can, and they have struggled to stay above water up until now. But it's literally at the point where they're not going to make it anymore. They have to ask for help, and that's what the taxing district is all about. They approximate just over $40 per 100,000 per residence, correct?
42 cents per thousand.
Yes.
Based on this year's assessment.
Yes, based on this year's. So at some point you have to decide whether you want an ambulance service or not. And I want to say, number one, they have struggled very hard not to ask for this money. And number two, I can tell you that when you need the ambulance, it can be a matter of life or death, whether you or your family member continues on. So please, if you have not seen it and you're watching the video, please go to the website and watch their video, which will give one member of our community where she explains what happened with her and how they saved her life. And I can tell you that they saved and helped one of my family members more than once. They were not only kind, but incredibly medically they brought medical care to him when he really needed it. So please don't forget what we need them for and how much they give to us all the time. And once again, mostly volunteers. So with that, we are going to go to the public question and answer period. So Tom, did you want to start?
Yeah, my name is Tom Mooney. I'm from Rockwell Road. And I just want to say it. I can only speak for myself, okay? But I don't think anybody questions the need for these guys, okay? I certainly don't. I don't think anyone would question it's unreasonable what they're asking for, okay? With the prices going up. I think everybody knows that. We don't need to repeat that. We don't, and we appreciate the work you've done to this point to sustain yourself. Very much appreciated, okay? Here's what I don't get, okay? Why are we paying for it based on the value of our homes, okay? Why aren't the people who use the services, which I have done, okay, paying for it, okay? And okay, some people aren't going to be able to, okay? But why don't we at least start there, okay? And if we do have to go to what I think is silly, okay, paying for this based on purely your ability to pay, because if you have a nice home, well, we must have more money, okay? That's not right. I'm sorry. That is not right, okay? You should pay for the services that you need as you need them, okay? And everyone in here needs these guys, and they obviously need the money, okay? So why aren't we charging it for services rendered, okay? Rather than based on your house assessment. I mean, this goes back to everything, okay? Use of roads, okay? Someone with a low valued home use of roads maybe more than someone with a $2 million home. Why is a $2 million home being taxed 10 times as much? That's not fair. And I'll use the word, that's communism, okay? From each according to his ability, okay? And I'm going to speak out against it. I'm sorry. You guys, I'll do whatever I can to get the money you need, okay? And you, like I said, you probably saved my life the time you did it. We all need that, okay? We all know that you need the money. It's the way you're going about charging us for this that is wrong, okay? If we're not going to pay based on the services rendered, at least have a flat rate that the citizens use, because we're all using these services to the same extent, okay? We don't know when that emergency is coming. We need to have them there. Every one of us, whether you live in a $10 million home or a $20,000 home, needs these guys to the same extent. So charge us to the same extent. That's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you. Sir, you want to have a question or a comment as well? Oh, I apologize. Thank you, Sue. If you could say your name and for the record as well, I would appreciate it.
Charles Galinsky, Murray Hill Road.
Thank you.
I have benefited from the services significantly, myself, my wife, and there's no one in here questions the competence and professionalism and quality of service rendered. And I don't know which is the best way to allocate those costs across the board. But I do question, I'm just curious, we have to know, you mentioned $600,000 deficit this year, to say nothing of accumulated deficits. Before I ask the question of how you calculate it, how do you fund all this equipment? Costs millions of dollars. Is that through bonds? Is that through going into debt and then amortizing it over time? And if so, now I get to my question: how does that calculate in developing that number for the deficit?
Well, we have our finances are compiled every year. We have Johnson Lauder Savage, local firm. We also have one of our volunteers is a CPA who helps us put our books together. One of the things that we do is we have tried always to turn our ambulances over at a 7-year mark because of the mileage, the use. So what we do is we take the bank loan out, find it, do the amortization and finance it that way. we have been pushing our ambulances. So now we're taking about 10, 11, 12 years because we're using, the cash flow basis to sustain ourselves. In the years we were fortunate enough to have excess cash, that's what we do. For any of the other big equipment, we would take out loans. Some of our manufacturers, like if we replace our cardiac monitors, if you did 5 at a time, which we needed for our ambulances, we would get, special financing to do it. But they have a limited lifespan of 10 years and they're at the point where they have to be replaced. So it's the things that we do is we amortize it, and we work over the last 4 or 5 years heavily on cash flow. I say we were lucky because of COVID, because, you got the money after the fact, the big COVID bailouts, and that was able to help us with our cash flow situation over a couple of years to get to this point. But we have, several ambulances that have to be replaced. And at the cost of doing it, the stretchers that are in there also are at the end of their life. The manufacturer won't service them anymore. And if they're not serviced or don't have the parts, then the insurance changes and you don't want us working or taking you out of a house and a stretcher that isn't, up to snuff. It's, people, it's like the hospitals. When you go into the emergency room and get in a wheelchair, you don't realize that wheelchair is several $1,000s. You could buy a used car for what you pay for some of these wheelchairs. So when we put all that together, the cost just keeps skyrocketing. If you say, how do we do it? Well, we've been very frugal in, we don't even have a sign on our building. We didn't buy any new equipment. Well, no, we did. We bought 1 new table and 4 new chairs for our building. Otherwise, we moved everything from our old building over. So we've struggled to do everything I don't want to say as cheaply as possible, but as frugally as possible to maintain the services. And we put everything first into providing service before we put it into anything else. It's just fee for service won't keep pace with what the costs are to generate. So when we look at it, we base it on, this year it's just operating costs alone. We haven't had to replace any equipment, but we do have to replace several ambulances. And when we put those costs in there, and when we look at it, we're also trying to say, what's the most cost effective way of doing it? So, and similar to the fire department, we're looking at trying to do it with cash. So we save the interest rates on it to do it, because they're really worth nothing at the end of the thing. If we have to, we'll replace. If it's more cost effective to amortize it over 7 years, we'll do that as well. But we have a CPA who does all that for us and that we work with.
You have,
Okay, it's just one
if I could
question.
just
time,
follow up,
But
how are you managing to fund these cumulative deficits?
We were fortunate enough to, over the years, be frugal and not overspend in a lot of places. So we were able to have enough cash to sustain our needs. And with the way Medicare pays us, and over the years, it's just gotten tougher. We were always able to carry a greater than 90-day balance or 120-day balance that we, in the last 2 years, have had to write it off because private pay is not paying. So that's anybody who owes us.
So you have a fund
Okay.
balance that.
That is
pays-
now gone
Right.
away.
Sir,
Right.
we do have to move on to the next
Right.
person.
Sorry, but I thought it was a.
Yeah, so that fund balance has dwindled to the
Okay,
point
well,
of
thank you.
not
I
being able to
appreciate
sustain
it.
us.
Ma'am?
I think I speak for everybody when I say thank you all to the EMS. I'm Holly Gruske. I'm out on Castleman Road. And for some of you who may know, I have been in almost every town in Broome and Tioga for election purposes, making presentations. And one of the things, just a comment, is that I've heard from some towns like Nanticoke and up in Newark Valley in Berkshire, and even in Owego, they are tearing their hair out for ambulance services. So I don't know if that's interesting to you, but I just want to share that. I also have some questions for you. As you know, we have about 18,000 students at Binghamton University right now who sometimes need ambulance services. Why are the residents paying for that? They aren't?
Harper's Ferry.
Okay, I'm just asking
Yeah,
questions.
they have the student ambulance. And
Okay.
we do augment them if they're busy, much like we would do. a
Okay,
unit
so
or
we're
anything
not
else.
paying for them.
Yeah.
The other question is, as we all know, Vestal is a retail hub and we love it. So we have people coming in from all over to shop and to work in Vestal, as well as our office facilities. What happens with that? Why are we covering that also? There's a
So-
lot of people, they have accidents. We see them all on the parkway driving stupid, right? So my question is why are we paying for that? We have a retail and an institutional sector. Should they be taxed as well? How does that work?
That will be part of it because the taxing district affects everybody within the town. So whether you're commercial or individual, the tax is affecting.
Everybody pays.
Everybody pays.
Okay, so as I drive home on Route 26, I happen to know we have a lot of institutional care facilities who also require medical transport. Are we funding that as well?
So their taxes will be assessed the same way. So as long as you have an assessed property in the town of Estill, you'll be taxed. So
Okay.
right now, if you think about it, the library, you're paying 38 cents per thousand. We're looking at 42 cents. If you look at the fire department, they're at 82 cents.
I'm not
Yeah,
questioning
so
that.
so when you think about it, everybody, to his question too, it's the only mechanism to pay for services is by a tax rate based on
Right.
assessed
But
values.
We need a new mechanism.
Yeah,
But like, for
Sure.
example, if I were the owner of that, I don't even know the name of the facility on 26, it's a tremendous facility. And you're transporting those patients, I don't know, to maybe the hospital or to special care and all that. Are we subsidizing those transports and the memory care on Castle Creek?
Okay, let me see if I can clarify a little bit. So every business, every institution, unless it's a declared nonprofit that is tax exempt completely, they all pay their taxes. So they all pay towards all of our services, whether it be fire or EMS or town services and even the schools. So they pay all of their taxes. So the businesses that people that go to, if they go to shop or whatever, they pay taxes. And because their assessments, generally speaking, are very high, they're paying a good portion towards all of our emergency services. So all emergency services, let me remind everybody, can't pick and choose who they respond to. If you are in an area, whether it is fire, EMS, or PD, everybody responds to anybody in that area. So, and that is true. So if you go to somebody, just as an example, if you go or if I go to somewhere else, their fire or EMS or PD will come to help me.
Okay.
So yes, but that is the only way to do it.
Okay, well,
So-
thank you for bearing with my questions, but we need to ask those questions also about the institutions. Anyway, thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for the EMS, for everything that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Sir?
Nick John Marino, Glen Hill Road, Vestal. Thank you, guys. So it's 42 cents per thousand is the rate. How long is the town gonna lock that in? Or every year they're gonna say it's going up and up and up every year? Or is this a rate for how long?
Well, the EMS remains independent. However, because they are affiliated with the town now, their budget is going to be reviewed every year as well. And I think that if in just what he said today, I could tell you I had long discussions with both of them, and they took me on a tour of their EMS station, and they explained how they do things. You could not be more frugal. The cost of equipment is extremely high and everything, but in terms of the rate increase, it is based on their costs. But also what was very clear in their presentation tonight and what they've always made very clear to me is that they do everything that they can to save money, and they will continue to do that. They will continue to charge the insurance companies for everything that they can. It's just the gap that they need help with.
So there's a good possibility that every year this can go up 42 cents per thousand, depending on the budget.
It depends on their cost, but they will be under scrutiny for their budget as well, because they submit their budget to the town. Nick, correct me if I'm wrong. And then that will be reviewed as in terms with in conjunction with all of our other budgets. So the town budget, just as an introduction, they are accountable in a nutshell. They are accountable for their budget, but independently up until now, they are very conscientious, they are very frugal, and unfortunately, things and services cost money.
I think to
Yeah.
answer your question, Nick, if I'm not mistaken, we're under the 2% tax cap as well, under that budget. So that's what limits us. Right.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, all taxing districts are subject to the same 2%, so it can't double in a year if that was what you were saying. But unfortunately, cost of things go up, so. Does anybody else have a question or comment, sir?
Fort Williams, I'm on Andrews Road. Could you clarify? So we're losing a tax burden from the fire department? And like how much that tax burden is coming off of us and how much, like, what's the difference here? That we're looking at overall, like if we're not paying for fire anymore, is that correct?
Well, it's more technicality than anything because we still have fire services and they still need to be funded. Our fire department is 100% volunteer.
Right.
So in order to run it though, we have 4 different firehouses, we have 52 square miles and we have 140 miles of roads with houses on them. And so we have to have those 4 is my point. So it's expensive. So there is a tax district already for the fire department that will continue. It will just be separate and independent. So we're technically not going to be responsible for that. There are going to be elections and elected officials that control the fire department. So the fire department will still be in place, right? It'll be independent. It will be governed by elected officials. And it will be independent from the town, in compliance with New York state law. We are the last town to separate.
But it's still a tax
It's
district.
still gonna, yeah,
So
that
we're not
tax will
saving
still
money by
continue.
that happening. We're just moving it to a different.
Yeah,
district,
the
so-
technicality is where the
So this isn't-
taxing is. Yeah,
So this is still above 2% increase.
it
And it's
is.
gonna be more than that in general, long term too, because you're gonna add it on this year and then it's gonna be continuous from thereafter.
Well, the EMS cost is going to continue.
No, I
Unless
get
something
that.
drastically changed and they can get more money, in which
understand the
case I'm
cost
sure
goes
they
up,
wouldn't.
That's not a question. I'm just
Yeah. Mhm.
trying to figure out,
Yeah,
you guys are saying that we're losing the fire department, but we're not, you're just moving it. So
the town control of the fire department is going to end.
right,
The
but our
ta-
tax
their
burden on it
tax-
is not.
Yeah, the tax burden does not because they need money and they need equipment.
Right.
We are, again, a volunteer fire department is incredibly millions and millions of
No,
dollars cheaper
I'm not
than.
arguing the price. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to figure out the logistics of
Yeah,
it.
so-
It sounded to me initially, the way you presented it, that we were losing that tax burden, but we're not. We're just moving it somewhere else. And we're
Yeah,
adding this one on top of that.
yeah. So you will still have a fire in your tax bill. You will still have the fire district.
Yeah.
You will still have the town taxes. And then we haven't even gotten to our budget process. That will begin very soon in September. And then lastly, this is an addition. So EMS is an additional tax. So they're giving you a cost increase. But that cost increase is 40 some odd dollars per 100,000 approximately. And that's based on this year's numbers.
So when you're requesting
Mhm.
the state for this tax levy increase, how much of an increase are we looking at for this year? How much above 2%?
So we haven't done our town budget yet. So, and this year will be a little different because we're going to do it publicly. So all of our meetings that we have with our department heads are going to be videotaped. They've always been public meetings before, but now they're going to be videotaped and put on the website. So everybody will see the whole process. We haven't developed the town budget yet. We're going to start that soon. In fact, we're having meetings next week. But our public meetings will begin in September. So it will be the town tax, the fire department tax, and EMS tax, and they will be separate taxing districts.
And when you look to increase the levy right now,
Mhm.
so are you looking for a specific percentage or are you opening for a blanket? number above 2%? Is it just a clear, we can tax above 2%, but we're not telling, we don't know what it's gonna be yet?
What we're voting on today, and I understand the question, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, is very simply, it's a technicality because basically our budget is at, I don't know. What, Nick, do you know the numbers offhand about the town with FD? That's our controller. I'm sorry, our town controller.
Currently.
Okay, he's gonna need the microphone because you're not gonna get on the video. Sorry, just put it down. Thank you.
So currently our tax levy is about $12 million. That's 2024, and that includes the fire district. So what's gonna happen is the fire district has a levy of 2 million. And that's gonna separate, they're splitting off and just going on their own. So that tax is still gonna be there, but not under the town. EMS is coming on. So basically how we're explaining it, we have a total of $12 million tax levy. You remove the fire, that's gonna decrease to 10 million. It's not a part of us anymore. EMS is coming on, so you're putting on about 1 million. Yeah, so that's gonna add back. So you're essentially same taxes, just EMS coming on. So it's gonna be an extra 40 hours.
That's
Sorry.
not same taxes, though. It's
Yeah.
just moving, same taxes from you guys, but we're
Yeah.
paying.
Yeah,
And you're-
and
You're just playing semantics, moving money around, that's all, so.
yeah, because the $1 million of the budget, so here's our budget. Then you add in EMS on top of it.
Yeah.
And we were hoping that with FD, because FD is a bigger budget, when we move that, but they went back and forth with the state controller. And basically what happens is the FD budget comes off. So the town is still here. And because EMS is coming on, they said automatically the cap goes down to adjust for just the town budget. And in adding EMS, even though the total amount is going to be less, then it automatically goes over the cap no matter what we do.
I guess what I'm trying to
Mhm.
figure out is what is the additional burden total to the taxpayer overall?
Yeah.
How much? And that's
So,
permanent.
yeah.
Yeah.
If they can get money from some other source, they
No, I'm
will.
not saying we need
Yeah.
EMS. I'm not saying we don't need any. I'm in healthcare. Obviously,
Yeah,
they're
that
important,
tax,
but
yeah,
I'm
it's a
just trying
question.
to, I'm just trying to understand the
Mhm.
logistics of how this money's moving around
$40
Mhm.
more.
I understand. So it is. a
versus
tax-
our new assessments that just went up astronomically, right?
So, so once you establish, and I know it needs clarification too. So in a taxing district continues on because,
Yeah.
if they need less money, I know that they will ask for less money. But, unfortunately, the price of things go up and, but I can tell you in talking to them, they will do it as frugally as possible for as continuing on still. So, but yeah, unfortunately it is.
Alright.
Okay. Okay, sir, another question or comment? And once again, we can't stay on one topic too long because we do want to make sure that we get to everybody. So we'll try to keep it to 3 minutes. So part of it's my fault.
Glenwood
Sorry.
Road, good
Mhm.
evening. Thank you, Supervisor. Thank you for your service. I calculated about $4 million income. You had about almost 12 calls a day. I rounded it up at $900 a call. Why do you increase your fee per service?
We can increase the fee for service all we want, but insurance doesn't pay. We have a set reimbursement rate. So the more we raise our fee, we're only getting reimbursed the same amount. They don't pay on a percentage of our charge. They pay what they feel is customary.
Sir.
Okay.
Sir.
Mr. Mooney, please
Sir.
don't call out.
Sir, I'm sorry, I
Sorry.
didn't get your name.
Did you want to follow up with another?
Excuse me.
Okay,
We
please don't
can only
talk.
have the speaker
Everybody was
speaking.
respectful to you when you were speaking, please.
And sir, I didn't catch your name. I'm sorry.
Romantic, Glenwood Road.
Okay, thank you.
For Supervisor Wallace and for Mr. Moody. Instead of having all of these EMSs in every town, why don't you just get one big one for the county? Combine all of these resources and then spread out the tax base by all the residents in Broome County. Pardon? Well, I think it's time for that conversation. I mean, because if you're over the 2% cap, I don't know where you're going to cap this thing or it might be 5%, 8%. Based on, also, hold it. If I own a business investor, will I get taxed twice, once on my business and once on my home?
Yes.
Come on, think it through, combine. If you're going to have government, divide the cost by more people. Don't have individual entities trying to suck money out of all of us. And no offense to you, thank you for your service.
So-
But you're getting $4 million a year and your costs are fixed on your trucks. You don't buy a truck every year. A truck costs $350,000 and it costs you $70,000 to outfit it. That's on a truck expense. It's a one-time expense. You got it for 5 years and you amortize it.
But our revenues are only 1.2 to 1.4 million.
Well,
on a
I just
given year.
figured out if you had 12 calls a day at $900 a day, a call per call.
But
that's
we don't
$4
get
million.
reimbursed on every call and we don't get reimbursed what we charge.
Well, then maybe you should ask the people to reimburse you or whoever, or
Okay.
raise the fee.
Okay, this is not an argument.
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm just
Mhm.
trying to understand why it doesn't happen. That's all.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
I'm not
comment.
being argumentative.
Yeah, I hear you. And sir, you haven't spoken yet?
Hi, David Milkovich, Nelson Road. Just listening to some of the conversations in the back of the room, I think there needs to be a better understanding of costs relative to someone's property, because everyone's basically essentially saying, if my house is worth X, why are you charging me more? If the taxing district rate is 48 cents, 42,
42.
42
Based on this
cents per
year's taxes.
thousand. So if you have $100,000 home, you'll pay $42 additional tax a year. $42. Okay, so if they double it next year and you're paying $96 a year.
But it won't double. It'll be at that tax rate because we're under the
Sure,
town
I-
2%.
I'm just saying hypothetically, so people have a context of the dollars that we're talking about. If they double it or triple it or quadruple it, $200 a year. Is this service worth $200 a year to you? So I just think that there's a misunderstanding for most people, assessments, percentages,
Right.
out of pocket dollars, because everyone thinks in out of pocket dollar terms. And there's just a lack, just from a conversation I'm hearing in the back here. If you have $100,000 home and you're going to pay $42 a year for this service, and if it triples, you're going to pay 120 some odd dollars a year. Is that a reasonable cost for this service? Ask yourself. I have had long-term property tax woes. I'm completely empathetic. This is not the issue to pick a fight on. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, are there any other questions or comments? Anybody who hasn't spoken yet? Okay, with that, we're gonna close the public hearing. And can I just say, for those of you who commented on how things are taxed or expressed your frustration with the assessments, we heard you, but right now, this is the only way that we can do things, and the only way that we are allowed to. So for us, it is a choice of whether we have an ambulance service when they have worked so hard to struggle, not to ask us for anything up until now, or not. And so with that, the public hearing is closed. Okay, if you could stop with the conversation, or please, we're gonna move on to the final item on the agenda.
Folks, can we please not have conversations during the meeting? Can you take them outside? Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Two more. Thank you. So we're gonna go right to the resolution and the motion, which is 7.1.1, resolution authorizing the establishment of a townwide ambulance district under Town Law Article 12A. Thank you. And seconded? Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And it's carried. Okay, and with that, we're gonna move on to new business. And that is 16.1.1, which is the authorization to advertise on Monday, August 26, 2024. The notice of the adoption of resolutions subject to permissive referendum regarding the establishment of a town-wide ambulance district. Thank you. And seconded?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Um,
Any opposed? Did you?
Just a point of order.
Yes.
So where was the tax cap vote?
The 4.1.1. To override the tax cap.
Yeah, it was just a public hearing. We didn't vote on it yet.
Good.
Don't we want to vote on it?
Yeah, they went back and forth. The town attorney went back and forth. I'm sorry. So, just to explain to everybody, the town attorney has been going back and forth with EMS and, at the same time going back and forth with the fire, department's town attorney to try to ensure that all of the deadlines and all the motions and all the resolutions are correct. They were going back and forth today once again, and this is the final attorney saying this is how we need to do it. So that's what I have to go with. Okay. Yes. Okay, so let's redo the vote on the last one, which is the authorization to advertise. We had a motion, right? Thank you. And seconded? And
Oh, I
Sue,
second. Yeah,
thank you.
sorry.
And all in favor once again?
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed? Thank you, and it's carried. Okay, and with that, there isn't a section at the end of the meeting, the normal meetings, in which we have public comment on other topics. And what I do ask, though, people have definitely expressed their opinions on different topics already, in the public hearing, and I understand that, and I think you've been heard. Is there anybody who had a question or a comment about anything else? Mr. Mooney?
Tom Mooney again, Rockwell Road. And, I appreciate that the budget's a problem, okay? And I think we really do think we need to start thinking about some creative ways to maybe turn that around, okay? And some of the things I see that may not be popular, and I've got too much time on my hands, maybe. I've driven around to a lot of the parks, okay? There are no kids in the parks, okay? They're all home doing this, okay? And that's not true of all parks. Arnold Park's got a lot of people, okay? There's other parks where there are, kids using the parks. There's a lot of parks sitting empty, okay, when I went around, okay? One off of Glendale I went to, okay? Can we do something with that property? Maybe, raise some money for the town, take a little of the tax burden off. Town of Vestal, as we heard the one realtor speak a few months ago, we're taxed we're in the high end, the upper percentile of taxing areas. We need to do something creative to prevent that. Okay. And again, I can only emphasize, okay, I'll debate anyone on the fairness of taxing people, okay, for certain services, which we need to support, and but it shouldn't be based on your ability to pay. And that's basically what we're saying. Okay. And that's wrong. Okay. I'm sorry, that's wrong. And it should be, maybe it can't be addressed now. Okay. Maybe it can't be addressed this year. We should be looking forward to find fairer ways to do this. Okay. That's all I want to say.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments before we adjourn the meeting? Okay, with that, I want to thank everybody for attending. And motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, and seconded? And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay. I got that you were trying to do something, but I couldn't figure out what.
Good night.
Yeah. Yeah, we average like 14 calls, 24 hours. It's not as much with the COVID, but it's hit and miss. And it's been up and down. Well, a couple of the nursing homes currently have COVID. I think it's from the community and they're rehabbing there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh. Oh.
I'll be honest with you. I thought about it. You got to you can get a price. You gotta have a lot of. You may be able to.
I gotta speak. We're gonna read.
Oh, okay.
I love your picture, buddy.
Right, all right, hey guys, we're gonna reopen.
We're gonna reopen the meeting. So if we could have everybody take a seat, please. Please take a seat. Thank you. Microphone's behind out. And I needed to make an announcement, so. Yeah. But it's fine. Tell you that.
Oh, yeah. Make better.
Okay. Yeah. So we have to reopen the meeting. We have to. We send the first one, the voting for the second one. We have to reopen the meeting, vote on the first one, and vote on the second one again. Okay, so I'm gonna vote to rescind the motion.
Let's open the meeting.
Hold on, let's officially reopen the meeting at,
apologize.
at 7:13. Thank you. Motion to open the meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Okay.
And seconded.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's redo to ensure that we have everything in the correct order and everything's been voted on. So my apologies. We will go back and vote. First, let's vote to rescind the resolution authorizing the establishment of a townwide ambulance district under Town Law Article 12A for a moment or two,
Mhm.
which we will re-vote on in a minute. So I have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. And seconded.
Second.
Seconded.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Very good. So it is rescinded for a moment. And then let's go back to 4.1.1, which is a local law. We are now voting on a local law to override the tax levy limit established in general municipal law 3-C.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. And seconded?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Very good. And it's carried. And let's revote on 7.1.1, which is the resolution authorizing the establishment of a townwide ambulance district under Town Law Article 12A.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
And seconded?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Very good. And it's carried. And with that, we will finally adjourn.
Motion
Just to
to
be fair.
adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll
Thank you
second.
very much and very good. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed? Excellent. Thank you very much for your patience. So
Sorry, we did. We got it.